Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinks and Movies with your hosts, Bearded Comic Bro and John from John's Comics with Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for Drinks and Movies.
That is right. It has been too long.
Way too long.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Man, that intro gets me every time. I love it. But
Well, you got
I'm not gonna lie though. Before we went live, your youngest was making fun of you doing that video, and I want that now more than ever on the stream.
Oh man. So hey everybody, thanks for coming back for some more drinks, some more movies. And we are definitely talking, as you can see several times underneath us here, favorite non-DC Marvel comic book movies based on a graphic novel or a comic book. So lots of good choices, and the chat already on fire.
Yeah, and that was, and I think to clarify, like you said, like we based our picks of, they had to be a comic book first.
Yes.
And because there would be some, I think, that could qualify, that like, ooh, maybe, but we focused on it was a comic first.
Right. Yeah. You can't pick like Firefly or because
Right.
They made plenty of comics after Serenity, but like, nope, you gotta be comic first. But let's say hello to some folks in the chat. We got Legion of Comics in the chat. Mark, how you doing? I hung out with the Downright Nerdy podcast, Michael, on Rod's Coast to Coast this afternoon. Good to see you, man. Got PJ King in the chat. And Lasso saying hello, and hello to the awesome chatters. We got Chris Baird saying, someone tell Britney Spears that I found Amy, and all I have to say is what a rush. I don't even know what any of that means. But
I kind of don't either now, and I'm like, am I old?
I'm lost. I'm absolutely lost. Hello, Todd Christian. Hello, Jeff Schultz.
Is that a Chasing Amy reference?
Where he says that I found Amy, and all I have to say is what a rush. I don't know.
Because that's
Britney Spears.
a comic book.
Britney Spears.
I guess I don't know Britney Spears, but I know Chasing Amy is a comic. Who knows?
Chasing Amy is a great movie too.
It is,
but it was not a comic book before, so it doesn't qualify. I think we said hello to Magic Lasso, but hello again. Let's see. Chris saying, my favorite non-big two comic movie is James Shadowhunter by Virgin Comics. You are already on fire today.
This is the wrong show for you tonight.
Really, we've already derailed. Rum chata. Ooh, there you go. Rum chata. Look, we're talking drinks already. I love it. Let's see here. Everybody's just going round and round. Favorite non-Marvel DC it's a show. It's called The Boys. Hey, we did not count shows because this is not drinks and TV shows, but that is a great show.
Yep.
Definitely solid. Hey, we got Comic Core. Hello to Chad of the Comic Core. They had an auction today. I hope everybody did really well. Although I don't think, Chad, you were on that one, but good to see you in the chat, my man. Hello, Daymares with the Aliens versus Predator. See that the movies came first. Hard to do it. No Good Comics is here. Sorry if I could click on.
I don't think Aliens vs Predator would have made the list anyways. So.
Yeah, probably not for me. Perry is here. What is up, Perry? Looking for new stuff for his viewing.
I feel like there would be definitely some movies on this list that he should watch because I know he hasn't seen some of them, and I would love to see him react to it.
Oh, heck yeah, absolutely. Hey, Firefly counts. Doot, doot, doot. I don't know what that means, but I like the sound effect I made. Hello to Jennifer. Good to see you in here. What is up? House till the end. What is up? No, the comic for AVP came before the movie because it came after the Aliens movies and the Predator movies, and then they made Alien versus Predator. Is that the logic here?
Doesn't count.
That's circular logic. It's complicated.
And it would never make the list anyways. It just isn't going to make the list. It's not for you.
So what are we drinking tonight, Greg? What are we having?
So I've got a pale ale from, actually I had a buddy bring it back from Iowa. So it's called The Long Ride. And I've been saving it for a perfect pairing. But I just don't have a comic that has ever fit this. So I know as soon as I crack it, I'm going to get a comic like, oh, that would be a perfect one for this. But I wanted to try it. And then obviously I got
it's the Long Halloween, right?
Yeah. So
The long
There's
ride.
not too many bicycle-themed comic books, so.
Hello, Glitter and Duct Tape is here. Good to see you, Crystal. So I've got a Hofbrauhaus original brew here.
Yes.
When my school it's a German school, and when they do their Oktoberfest every year, they get a ton of these Hofbrau beers, and I always usually sneak a 6-pack or something, and let it last through the winter.
We have one of the stateside Hofbrauhauses here in Columbus, so
nice. I think the closest one to me is in Vegas. And I've been to that one. I also have a little ice on the ready for some Jameson if we want to continue on after the beer runs out. Hopefully I won't fall to asleep. Chris says, how is the Addams Family being ignored? I thought it was a TV show and way before it became a movie. I don't know when comic books came into the Addams Family, but that's an interesting discussion.
I don't know either, because there definitely are going to be some where you have like TV shows that were made, right, and then the movies and stuff like that. Like I know one in particular that we're talking about, but it definitely was a comic first. I just don't know.
It was a comic before the show, says Damers, and I trust Damers to know his facts.
There you go.
But clearly, based on what we're saying, didn't make the cut. Not here. Not happening. So we got our drinks. We got our friends in the chat, and it is time to dive into some good movies here. And I've loaded up graphics for every single one. And I know some that you want to get to, some that I want to get to, but I want to discuss this one first, if you're all good with that.
It's all fair. Whatever you want. I'm here for it.
I saw this movie in the theater, and it just blew me away. And then when I found out that it was a comic, I had to go search it out. That's The History of Violence, man. I love this movie. I think this movie is nuts, and it's just phenomenal, buck wild. So I had you seen this before?
So I know I had talked to you that I hadn't, and I had seen it before. It was just one of those. I think I saw it in theaters and hadn't revisited it since this week. So
the opening sequences leading up to the murder at the violence at the coffee diner or whatever.
Yep.
Amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And the violence is always so intense and so much more graphic. You feel the wounds. Like it's so intense. And then on top of which you look at the names of the cast across the top there, and you're just like, I'm full in on this.
Yeah, you have a top-notch crew. You, like you said, those 4 names right at the top. You're like, yep, I'm here for it. And it's a unique story. And I think it is one of those, like you said, that most are like, wait, that was a comic? Like,
yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. But Vigo just crushes it in this role. And Ed Harris is creepy as always.
Well, and then there's something about William Hurt at the end when he's like, Broheim. Like his whole bit at the end when he gets locked out of the house and he's got to like find the keys in his pockets. There are so many great little William Hurt moments and he's only in this like 15-minute, 10-minute bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, every time he speaks, I'm just like on the edge of my seat. How do you fuck that up? So many lines out of him that I just adore. And then, of course, Maria Bello, who is supremely talented, gorgeous, and just absolutely perfect as someone who maybe had an inkling that there was something different about her husband, something that he was keeping from her, but had no clue how deep that rabbit hole went.
Yeah, and there's some, like you said, you mentioned there's some intense violence. There's also some intense naughty time scenes between
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy with all of it. It's just a graphic movie, period.
Based on a graphic novel. The graphic in graphic novel.
Absolutely.
Daniel, have you read this comic though? You said you went back and read it.
I went back. I don't remember how I got it. I think I got it through a library or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's different. There's definitely differences for sure.
And I think you'll see that with a lot of these movies. Very few, I think, of the movies we talk about, like really follow a graphic novel or a comic through and through, with some exceptions. I think they take bits and pieces of it, a lot of them, but
for sure. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. It's Cronenberg, if I'm not mistaken, right? David Cronenberg made this.
It sounds right.
I'm like 99% sure. And I just love his stuff. I think he's great. And Gore Vidal mentioned Eastern Promises, which is kind of like the sister film to this in a lot of ways. And he's great in both. Yeah, and it is Cronenberg at his best.
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally just this for me. I cannot watch Old Boy. I've seen it one time. I'm never gonna watch it again. It's just there's no way. And I'll watch this over and over again. That's it. It's just night and day movie going experience for me. I can't even believe they remade Old Boy. I was like, God, I don't need that movie in English now. Come on.
See, I didn't know Old Boy was before, and so I had only saw the first one, or the remake. I mean. And I don't want to revisit that movie again, let alone even if the other version is better, which everyone says it is. I don't want to revisit the storyline.
Yeah, I can't handle it. Even if I counted it as great, and it's an arguably cinematically quality film. Yeah, I will never put it in a high enough place just because I can't handle it. I just can't handle it.
No.
It's too much for me. I'm too weak. But History of Violence, though, I can handle that. And the fight scenes are so intense, and they sometimes come out of just nowhere. And then, yeah, great character work from Ed Harris and everybody, just everybody, top notch. So let's move on. Let's
do it.
Let's see, one that I think you want to get to. Let's jump into. I want to save that one for you. Let's jump into this one. Rocketeer, man.
Now we're talking my childhood. Are you kidding me? Rocketeer is so freaking good. The cast in this is fantastic, which is crazy too, because I feel I'm blanking on who is the lead actor in this. I feel like he should be in so many more other roles, and he really wasn't. Like this, because it was a box office dud, I think this really kind of plummeted his career, but it's a shame because I thought he did a really good job, and even in the rewatches of it,
Billy Campbell is his name.
Yep. Alongside what is Alan Arkin?
Is it Alan? No, it's yes, Alan Arkin. Sorry, yeah,
and then what's it? John Locke playing Howard Heath.
John Locke, I love it.
Those are my favorite moments of going back watching movies and seeing like characters from Lost before they were in Lost.
For me, this movie is all about Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah,
like I remember seeing this as a kid and being like, okay, yeah, that's what I want. That I like that. I want that. I want more of that in my life. Like she is smoking hot, just top to bottom. But she's also just a boss. Like she's badass in so many moments in this. When she takes out Timothy Dalton with the vase in the bathroom.
Yep.
Yeah, I think she's phenomenal in this. And it clearly goes to show where her star was on the rise because she went from here to like tons of other stuff.
Yeah, and this is surprisingly, I feel like it's one of those I didn't know when I was watching it as a kid that it was a comic book. And I didn't really until I went and revisited it, as a nerd more. And I assume there was a lot more Rocketeer comics that were written than there are. There's very few, actually.
Okay.
They're kind of compiled into a couple trades, and that's really it. And
was it more comic strip?
So no, so Rocketeer originally appeared, and I have it. I don't get it. He appeared in Star Slayer, in issue 2, and so y'all want a Rocketeer book, go look for Star Slayer issue 2, because A, it's a dollar bin book and no one's getting it because it's A, no one's buying Star Slayer, and B, if they were, they're like, oh, we'll get the first issue. But issue 2 is the first appearance of Rocketeer. It was like a secondary story in the back of the book. And with Disney Plus now, this would be primed to do something because I think there is a cult following. So
I will say that for me, the unsung hero of this movie is the theme. The music is so spot on that you feel like the hairs on your arm rise up when you hear that main theme, and he looks so cool flying. The look of the helmet, the look of the jacket, the radiator on his back, like the whole look, everything looks so cool. The production design is on point.
Yeah, and for what it was, it's not it holds up pretty well for like if you're looking at it from like Dave Stevens, R.I.P.
David says they have a current cartoon set in the current days where the Rocketeers are girls.
So Disney remade it as I think it's Cliff Secord's daughter becomes the Rocketeer, and it was on like the Disney Channel. I only think they did a season, but I could be wrong. I haven't watched that yet, but I definitely will make my kids. I'll blame it on my daughters. Like, oh, we're gonna watch this at some point. And
I showed my girls this for the very first time, and they firstly they could, Charlie's able to recognize James Bond, and she's like, James Bond's the bad guy? What's that? What's going on with James Bond is the bad guy? So she thought that was kind of funny, and then of course both of my girls were like, wow, that girl's got an amazing body. Like they were both like, wow. I mean, she just is smoking hot all through this movie. Yep. It's hard to deny the beauty. But they did enjoy this. But they liked a different movie we're going to mention a little later better.
But I gotta show this bad boy off since I just picked this up this week too. I've been eyeing it at my store.
Let me get rid of the branding here. Sorry. There it is.
Look at that in all its glory.
Nailing it.
It cleaned up nice. So
that's gorgeous.
Yeah. Never have owned any statuesque things. It's a cheap one, so I was like, I'm gonna take it.
Besides a woman, she's statuesque. Isn't that what they say?
Yes.
Oh, you said statuesque. I'm like, I've only ever heard that used to describe a woman. All right. So next up, let's go with something that tends to come up on everybody's list of non-Marvel and DC comic movies, and that's the Men in Black.
Here come the Men in Black.
Yeah, I do know that Timothy Dalton is based on Errol Flynn. Absolutely, that's not how you spell it, Errol. But yes, that's Earl. James Bond is not the man. James Bond is the alias, right? So, I mean, this is firstly just a top to bottom kick in the pants fun movie. Sadly, every single sequel they've made is crappier than the next one. But this movie holds up. This movie is just a ton of entertainment. And Tommy Lee Jones is perfect in his role. Will Smith is perfect in his role. The comedy is on point. I have a ton of love for this movie. It is just the perfect summer popcorn movie.
Yeah, and this was what, right after the summer, right after Independence Day?
Yes. So
it was like Independence Day, then this. And he had another one that was a hit before we had Wild Wild West. I thought maybe not, but man, this was the start of, you knew you were getting a Will Smith movie and you were going to have a fantastic theme song to go with
it. Right. And then we got Wild Wild West. And we're like, okay, the party's over.
So Chris says it's a Marvel property now.
Because what? Because Marvel's bought everything in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because I mean, they had it had to have been recently, because even the Men in Black ride was at Universal Studios.
Yeah,
so that wasn't when they with Disney and stuff. So I don't know.
I've never heard it, but I've never read the comic either. I just know that it's based on a comic book. People told me I've never read a single issue.
So I kind of got into a weird phase this summer of quarantine where I was trying to get comic books that were based off of like Men in Black, and I got like Judge Dredd and Rocketeer. Like I was going down a rabbit hole, like trying to find obscure comics. And this one, I was like, oh, I'll lowball an offer on eBay and see. And because it had just been sent forever. And then like they pulled down the post and then they relisted it for like double the amount, and that's like I haven't been able to find one since, and I'm like, I should have just gone low, gone with what they asked.
That's painful. That's painful. But I will say, like, I'm a Tommy Lee Jones fan, so like almost every time he's in a movie, I enjoy it. It doesn't really matter. I can even watch U.S. Marshals, and that movie's basically trash. I just think he's just phenomenal, and his delivery in this movie is so good, and his story arc is so perfectly wrapped. I think I didn't almost need the sequel where they give him his memory back. I loved the way he ended his story.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the epitome of you have a movie that tells a very good story that didn't need to go on, but because it was so successful, it went on. And like you said, they've been duds ever since.
God,
like
so bad.
At least Men in Black 2 is decent. I'll say it's at least decent. It's not on the same level as the first one, but then 3 was. And then
I didn't even watch International.
I didn't even watch a reboot with Hemsworth.
Yeah. No. Pass on all of it. I know I turned my wife into a nerd when we were watching the Daredevil series. My wife said, "Wouldn't that be cool if Kingpin turned into a huge bug right now?" So good. That's funny.
Let's talk about character build difference from here to Daredevil.
Right. Absolutely. All right, I think we need to get into some Frank Miller time. So let's it's Miller time. Frank Miller time. I'm a fan of the Sin City graphic novels. I think they're really, really great reads. And it is amazing how good this film is compared to how bad the sequel is. It's like they captured some really great magic here. And Rodriguez and Frank Miller together, and Quentin Tarantino, I guess, shot one sequence, but like really did something cool with this. And cutting together 3 different stories the way they did. I think the look of this film, the style of this film, it pushes the envelope in a lot of different ways and is so faithful to its source material. It just captures that atmosphere of that world. And then of course the like pointed use of color. I really dig this movie. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Getting to rewatch this, it was a blast to watch it again because I know it's one I loved and I enjoyed it. This is also one of those, and we'll talk about another movie that kind of is the same, I think, where it does something unique and the movie and it's stylized of how it's shot and everything, and it works really well. And then because it worked really well, they try to duplicate that same sense in so many other movies, and it just becomes garbage.
Crash.
And that's what they did with the sequel to this. They hinged on it. But you look at this cast. I mean, Mickey Rourke, Clive Owen,
Rosario Dawson,
right? Brittany Murphy,
Bruce Willis,
Jessica Alba, Elijah Wood.
So good.
Who's the older gentleman who plays the?
It doesn't matter. They're all
fantastic. Like this cast is dynamite. And they are showcased so well throughout this whole movie. It's graphic and it's tons of fun. And how they, like you said, how they tie the 3 stories together works so well. And I'm a fan of it. This is where I will say this is one thing I've actually still never read the graphic novel of this.
I've read a bunch of them, and I probably haven't read all of them because I know that he continues to publish them from time to time. Okay. But it's been a while since I've read some of them. But like, of course, I read them all going into this and beforehand. It's just a really great. It's so faithful. I mean, it's shot for shot in some sequences. For most of the movie, shot for shot. Really, really well done. Chris Barrett, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed, my man. You're just going to be disappointed. They can be on this list. They will be on this list. So you just got to be ready. Got to buckle up.
What we want. So, Powers Booth. Yep, that's
Powers Booth.
Exactly who I was thinking of.
That's the guy.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll make our own adjustments because of however we want to, anyways, with Marvel and DC. If you don't like it, you can start your own show, Chris Barrett, and call it Drinks and Movies. No, JK, I love you. But this is, like I said, you get this. This is where it's done real well. They didn't, the second one, and then they took a fantastic comic book property and also butchered it with Spirit trying to do it in the same style.
Oh, Spirit was just trash.
I tried to watch it again just to no, I like Spirit. Like, it's got Samuel L. Jackson. Like, it's got to be good. And they went so much on the same stuff of we're just going to try and ride the Sin City stylized wave, and it didn't work.
It's just painful. Just painful.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you haven't seen this one and you like Sin City's sort of Frank Miller's nihilistic look at the world, I think you'd really dig it.
Yep.
Let's keep rolling here. Sorry.
We're crushing. I like it.
Yeah, we're moving good. I want to go to this one because somebody in the chat just mentioned The Mask.
Yep. It's a Dark Horse. It was a Dark Horse comic. Is that okay, gang?
Shout out to you, Jennifer. Yeah, I mean, this movie is just fun. It's just a lot of fun.
It really. This was my first exposure to Jim Carrey because my mom wouldn't let me watch Ace Ventura because it was too inappropriate. But this is where I was able to watch Jim Carrey. So I don't know if it was really that much better than that, but it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool storyline. That really this is Jim Carrey in his prime where he's energetic, he's fun, and it works. And you get Cameron Diaz in her first ever role.
Yeah.
And crushes it. It just is rewatching this. You see the innocence of Stanley Ipkiss, aka Jim Carrey, where he's just is such a good guy.
Yeah.
And they play that whole story arc well with the personalities, with the mask and how it deals with it and who gets control. And when the dog Milo gets it, it's hysterical as well.
Perfect. Yeah. My daughters, when we watched this for the first time, the dog was the star. And then when he got the mask, the girls just were like, this movie's amazing.
And this is where they utilize the same henchmen for a lot of movies because the big bald guy in this one was also one of the henchmen in The Shadow, another comic book.
Oh, really? That's funny. Well, but the music in this, I mean, the dancing, the whole Cuban Pete sequence is hilarious. I think they just do a really great job of making this fun and wild.
Now, let me ask you this, because I've only been exposed to part of it. Have you read any of the comics of The Mask? Or because it comes off as it looks like they did a complete departure of the comics, where the comics seem to be more graphic, intense.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else in the chat has read it.
Yeah, I haven't read much of The Mask, but I do remember seeing it, and there's more guns. It's a little more violent.
Yeah.
Todd Christian says he thinks that Gremlins 2 was a better homage to Looney Tunes, right? Yeah, PJ says the comics are dark. Yeah, okay. From what I remember, the comics were pretty dark.
That's what I thought. So, this is a clear departure then from the comics because they're we can take Jim Carrey and make it more family.
Right. Let's see here. What else did I want to say about this movie? I don't think there's anything I'm missing.
Yeah, good comedy, Jim Carrey. I mean, talk about this was. You have some movies that you can tell what era people are from because of when they would quote stuff. This was the most quoted movie of that era, of that year. All the smoking, the PARTY, because I gotta it was just how Austin Powers then was the most quoted, and it brings you back when someone quotes a reference from The Mask for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go a little darker. Let's go to some Road to Perdition, which I just rewatched it today. I hadn't seen this in a good few years, and I forgot how just beautifully photographed this movie was. Like, it just wall to wall, the photography is gorgeous. This movie's beautiful.
I adore this movie. I rewatched it this week, and I was like, this is fantastic. And one of the things that I really love, and now I'm actually kind of a little bit more excited for Superman and Lois CW series, is because the little kid is the one who plays Superman.
Right.
And to have a movie where a kid is such a presence in the role is a really tough to have him not be annoying or like to find that sweet spot. And I think that movie does such a great job. And I think Tom Hanks obviously helps with that. I mean, when you have actors that definitely, like, if they make you a better actor when you're around them, I think Tom would be one of those that other people's performances are raised when they're on the screen with Tom Hanks. And it just, you're right. It's shot so beautifully. And Paul Newman is great in this. Yep. There. Look at that. Gore is in my head.
Yes. Yeah, rewatching it, like the sequence when Newman is, spoiler alert, killed in the rain, and Michael's basically gunning down all those guys, and he's just standing there waiting for it because he's like, I deserve this. I deserve to die for what I've done, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't do it again. And you can read all of that on his face.
And you see, this is one of those storylines too, where you get the pain, the premise of this movie, if no one's for some reason seen it, is, Tom Hanks plays Michael Sullivan, who basically is like a hitman for the mob, and his boy witnesses a crime. And Daniel Craig is in this and is great as just a douche.
So foul. Yeah, he plays Newman's son.
And so he basically is like, I'm going to then kill them because he's going to talk and ruin this for me. And it's so tough because Paul Newman has a love for Tom Hanks' character more than he does his own son. And it's obvious, but it's kind of like, it's blood. I have to do this. And the story is just so heart-wrenching from that aspect, because you can tell, you see how much love Paul Newman has for this, and like how he's just like, I have to do this because of blood. But man, and we haven't even mentioned freaking Jude Law yet.
Yeah, I mean, Jude Law, one of the great creepy, odd performances of his career, with so many wonderful, subtle choices and not a lot of dialogue. Like, he doesn't get to speak a whole lot in the movie, and he's just wonderfully kind of creepy. Stanley Tucci has a great little role.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I really think this movie is incredibly strong. I will also say I've never read the graphic novel.
I haven't. I went to look for it now because of watching this movie. This is one that's like, I want to read this now in a story. And I think everything I was looking at is all black and white.
Yeah, that I didn't know.
I'm there for it for sure. My only knock is they make Jude Law catch up with him pretty quick. Like, he's I know that, like, they make him seem like a pretty good detective of, like, you know what? I have an idea of where they are, and they have like a 3-day head start. I'm going to catch up to him, and I'm going to figure out what rest diner area that he stops at. And it's kind of like,
Here's the one that gets me, actually, rewatching it this time. When Hanks, like, seriously injures him in the hotel room, why doesn't he just walk over and finish it? He's killing everybody. Like, he's clearly putting people down and has no compunction about killing him. And this guy just tried to kill you. Why aren't you just putting him down? He's over there moaning on the ground from a face injury, and you can just put him down and walk away.
And he's hunting you down.
So why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you dropping that bullet right then? Wanting to read after watching the movie.
Hey,
some of these, honestly, I saw this movie and didn't know it was a comic until later on. Somebody put it on a list like this, and I was like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that."
Yeah, and I think this is one that fits. Like, this works really well, and it's good to watch. So,
yeah,
If you haven't seen Road to Perdition, I know we've given away a lot of the movie, but it doesn't matter because it's a great movie to watch.
It's also on Amazon Prime right now, totally free. So if you've got an Amazon account, you can load this up and enjoy. And I hadn't seen it in years, so it was kind of fun to watch it again.
Yeah, because I think I rewatched it on Amazon Prime this week, and I was like, I completely forgot Road to Perdition. I'm like, it's making my list no matter what. I'm glad you rewatched it too.
All right, so you want to make Chris Barrett angry?
Oh, put it on the list. Do it.
Kingsman, Secret Service.
You know what? I'm going to make Chris Barrett even a little more angry right now. I'm going to take a little swig from my Old Forester, the Statesman edition that they made for the second sequel.
And my dad's here. He's having a little Crown Royal Reserve, and he's a big Newman and Hanks fan for sure. I know he's seen that movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Dad. I'm always angry, even when you can't spell it. So I picked this movie poster because it's not the like, hey, everybody's on the poster. It's the like, look at all the cool gadgets and stuff. That whole sequence of him getting his suit and going in, and the whole, I love the style of this movie. And I will say I'm not a big fan of the sequel. I did not care for it. But this film, the style and the wit of this film, of course, you have Sam Jackson, who's just awesome. And you have Colin Firth doing this great role. And for me, I knew I loved this movie the second that church scene started. I was like, holy buckets, that is an insane moment.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I mean, this is your classic, like, bringing in this scrappy kid who has no right to be kind of into this society, but because of a connection and a relationship. But it's just fun all the way through. And again, I love what they were able to do with the movie that pays like tribute to the comic.
Okay.
So have you read this?
Never.
So the comic, the theme in the movie is you have a billionaire who is kind of,
he is a child. I will agree.
You're right. Sorry. My apologies. Where, he's trying to gather like the heavy elites of the world to do this. Well, in the comic, it's the same type of thing. This guy is about to wipe out the world, but he's getting all his pop culture celebrities. So like anything from Star Trek, Star Wars, and one of the first people they try to kidnap in the comic is Mark Hamill. And he accidentally dies in like the first comic issue or something because of a botched like, and he's like, oh, he's going to be so mad that Mark Hamill died. And then Mark Hamill is one of the main guys that they try to kidnap in here. I was like, well played.
Yeah.
Well played.
Nice
Without
little homage. That's nice.
But this is one of those, it's bananas, it's off the wall, and it works. And that's where you see when movies like this, Kingsman, it was the sequel. They're like, how do we make it more bonkers than the first? And it goes almost so much over the top that it doesn't work as well then.
Yeah. And I never saw there's the third, right? I didn't see the third.
No. There's only two.
Oh, I could have sworn there was a third. Sorry.
Unless I thought they were going to. I don't think they've ever done a third. I'm almost 100% positive because I just did a rewatch of both.
Okay.
And I didn't see it anywhere. But, I mean, I do love that Ellen Johnson, the sequel, so that's great.
Yeah, so for me, it's all Firth is like the best. Yeah. I mean, he's just spot on perfect in this. And who would have thought the guy from, Pride and Prejudice and Bridget Jones could just kick so much butt. Like, he just is a boss.
And what's the actor that plays kind of not like kind of like the Alfred character, the behind the scenes. Is Mark Strong? Is that Mark Strong?
Mark Strong is he's more like Q.
Yeah, Q. That's the word I was trying to look for.
Okay, okay. I thought you meant like Michael Caine.
No, not the head guy. I was talking about like the one that worked alongside with Eggsy and
yeah, Mark Strong. He plays Merlin,
and I think he steals a lot of the movie with his interaction throughout it. I think he does a fantastic job.
Totally, absolutely. I think Mark Strong is a highly underrated character actor. I think he's great in a lot of things.
So there you go, John. The chat is telling you they are doing a third one. It isn't out yet. Okay. And then TJ said it's a prequel.
Gotcha. There you go. So I'm not totally crazy. I just haven't been to the movies in so long that I've forgotten where movies are in the world. And
everything was supposed to come out. So, man, can we get DC to own this so I can watch it on HBO?
Right. Absolutely. Let's see here if we're moving right along. You know what? Let's it's Miller time again. This movie is so quotable. There are so many like lines. Michael Fassbender, when he's like, well, we'll just fight in the shade. Like, I'm just like, yeah, this guy's a boss. I love this guy. And there are so many great little moments. When he's like asking him to kneel and he's like, I would, but I strained a muscle in my thigh here. I can't really, it's not going to work for me right now. They do a great job with this. Now, historically accurate? No way. Misogynistic? Obviously. It's Frank Miller. But what a spectacle. And Zack Snyder shoots the daylights out of this movie. It looks gorgeous all the way top to bottom. Even when it's gross and grotesque, it looks gorgeous. Gerard Butler, of course, is amazing, right? This is Sparta. Like, the guy just is a boss. And between him and Fassbender, I'm just all in on this movie. It is crazy good fun.
Yeah, like you said, quotable movie. I mean, you can't tell me how many people went around just kicking things and going, "This is Sparta!" Like randomly, that was like a meme before memes were a thing. Kind of, you just would randomly see someone probably kick someone like, "This is Sparta!" Haha, that's awesome. And tonight we dine in hell. Like, that is a very quotable movie, and it's Gerard Butler is fantastic in this. I don't know if this was his kind of coming out movie, but
I hadn't really heard of him much before this. But
my time frames are messed up, but like I know this at least solidified him as he can be an action guy.
Yeah,
and I'm all there for it. Again, the prequel that they made afterwards,
just straight fire.
Everything that they've tried to shoot with the sepia tone style movie past, like it doesn't work. Again, they tried to take something that worked really well in this moment and utilize that stylistic side, and it doesn't work in most anything else after it.
No, it just falls apart. And I think also when you take a giant step down in the quality of acting.
Yep.
Lena Headey, is it Headey? I can't remember how I spell her name. Yeah, Headey. Sorry, Headey. Yeah. She's great in this. She is so awesome in this, and just absolutely fierce. So great. And then David Wenham, who from Lord of the Rings, Faramir, as the one-eyed guy, the one survivor of the 300. So great.
Who's retelling the story.
Storyteller. So good. So many layers to this that I think, besides just the visual side, I think the performers really nailed it. It's ridiculous. There's no, the truth of the Battle of Thermopylae is so far away from this movie and this story, but who cares? The spirit of it, the legend of it, is what's really what we're here to see. Right.
Well, but isn't that true? But I think what I like about it is, they tell this story as in someone who's telling the story of like, I was there, and how often the more and more we are separated from the events that we witnessed, like how great we make things or grandiose that we expand on stuff more and more as it goes. So like it almost works even better for me in that standpoint of if you're retelling this battle 20 years later, 100 years later, I have this idea that I was a lot cooler in high school than I really was. The farther I get away from high school, I'm like, oh yeah, like no, I wasn't. But like I think the more, and it's the same here with 300. Like the farther they get away from this battle, the more buck wild. Like, well, yeah, well there was this happening, and then arrows were everywhere, and so it's like, well, how do you tell it? And I think it works really well because it's that campfire story that's being told that where they're just like, we're gonna blow it out of proportion, and because it's a legend that we're creating.
Robert Gal was mentioning he liked that they use the same style for Gods of Egypt. I've never actually seen that, so I don't know. Not a fan over there.
Yeah, when you have to say a movie's okay, like that's like you're justifying. Like, well, it was okay. It wasn't complete trash.
Well, I think you obviously that's the nature of art in every way, right? That like something that works is going to have copies, right?
Yeah.
And instead of realizing, well, why did that work? What original elements were they pushing, and how can I have similar original elements as well?
Right.
Robert says he caught up on all the Game of Thrones, had the epic battle scenes and dragon scenes I've ever seen in anything out there. Yeah, I mean, I still to this day think it ended well. I don't think it ended perfectly, and I think the books will end better. But yeah, I get it.
And that's why John drinks, because he knows things.
Well, John is okay, but I still hang out here. There you go.
Oh, touche.
Fair.
I'll allow it.
So yeah, that's our other Frank Miller toy for the night that we get to play with. We've got 2 movies left in our 10. I can't believe we've already gone through 8. If my math is correct, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. And then we have 2 personal picks that are outside of the original 10 that we agreed on. So, do you want to do your final one or my final one?
Let's do my final one next, because I know I feel like we want to spend more time on your final one probably.
Well, and I know this is gonna light a fire in my dad. So here we go. We got Dick Tracy, folks. This is gonna excite some people for sure who maybe wanted something like heavy metal or whatever. I rewatched this with my girls, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I remember enjoying it the first time I watched it. Which my dad and I joked because like the first time we watched it, we didn't actually watch it because the theater blew out a bulb in their projector and didn't have a spare. So they had to just give everybody their money back, and we had to drive somewhere else to go see the movie. Yes. But
this was a deal breaker, and I will not throw John under the bus. This is 100%. I don't talk about this. You could have had DC Marvel movies thrown in here, and Dick Tracy still would make my top 10 list. That's my love affair with Dick Tracy. So,
well, there's that for sure. I will say, yeah, obviously Bearded has a huge love of this. I will say I don't hate it. Like I really enjoyed it. So he didn't have to like sell it on me too much. I did want to make sure I went back and watched it.
So Chris, let me answer your question right now. So TJ, I apologize if this still comes off as child abuse here. The legend Chester Gold created this comic strip back in 1937, and it is just graced our world and our present since then. And it's so much better of a movie and than anything that Addams Family did. And let me throw this on here. People want to knock Dick Tracy here. Of all the movies we wanted, let's put some respect on Dick Tracy, because it should be announced as Dick Tracy 3-time Academy Award winner Dick Tracy movie. It has 3 Oscars in its belt. None of the other movies we've talked about have 3 Oscars under its belt. So put some respect where respect is earned on Dick Tracy.
Madonna was in this. I think I have to agree with your dad, buddy. There you go. Hey, I get it. What I love most about this movie and what I give this movie the most amount of props, or respect for, it has a visual language and style that is so far ahead of the curve of what other people were doing. And it did almost all of it practically, meaning in camera effects, not the Sin City, we shot it digitally and we can add the colors that we want later on effects, but they actually did it on set. And I think the look of this film is really impressive.
Yeah. You get that stylized right off the bat, that opening intro of how it's shot, of everything from the color schemes that you get in the world to the angles and the framing, of Warren Beatty, in the door frame. And like, it works really well from that aspect for me. And Pacino steals the scene. Like everyone has said, Pacino kills it and is great in this. This was my first movie I remember watching in the theaters as a kid. So I get it. I have nostalgia from that aspect. I had the Dick Tracy bed sheets. I had the Dick Tracy border around my room. I literally have a shrine over there of Dick Tracy. I mean, I've got Dick Tracy like paper plates from this movie that are still all over that. Like, just I'm obsessed with this because it was everything I liked. So I get it. I have more love for this than a lot of people.
My dad said he watched the comic strip in the newspapers when he was a kid, went to the Saturday matinees and watched Dick Tracy serial with Ralph Bird.
And those are on, I think the ones with Ralph Bird are on Amazon. I just found that looking as I was going through. This is one of those, my grandparents would cut out the comic strips and send them to me. So I get even more of that nostalgia of getting those strips in the comics for so long. And there's something about the comic of Dick Tracy where it attracted me to it. And it's, the wristwatch, that you could talk through, like, that was so cool. And, I hope they do something more with Dick Tracy someday, whether it's a TV show or something. I know they've done some comics. There's a 4-issue run that came out a couple years ago called Dead or Alive, which I highly recommend if you're not. They basically tried to modernize Dick Tracy a little bit, so it's like cell phones, rather than just
it's an Apple Watch.
Yeah, and then after that, they did a different series for 4 episodes called Dick Tracy Forever, which should never have existed because they have them like in space and things like that, and it doesn't work. But Dick Tracy Dead or Alive is a really good series if you want to just experience it in that. But it's a lot. It works really well for me, and it holds up in my eye. And I get it. I know I have a bias towards it, but it is fun. And I quote that movie. This is one of those movies where I quote it all the time, and people don't get those references because
go suck an egg.
I'll say go suck an egg. My mom literally would be like, she'll be like, we'll be talking like, I had a thought, it's coming, and it's gone. And I'm like, no other mom is quoting Dick Tracy.
My brothers now still do like Big Boy did it, Big Boy did it, Big Boy did it.
Yeah, freaking Dustin Hoffman is Mumbles, and freaking what's his name? 88 Keys, and is Inigo Montoya.
Inigo Montoya,
which most people don't realize that the man tickling the ivories in Dick Tracy, 88 Keys, is
honestly pretty much every actor in the movie is somebody you've seen from something. The cast is really impeccable, and they do a lot. Again, I think the look of the film, whether they give somebody a ton of prosthetics or they just give them a wardrobe that is just, it fires on the screen. Like, they really did a great job. Production design. The production design is amazing. And the way they edit it together, you can tell that this is seamlessly put together by masters in their trades. Like, the people doing the work know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and the makeup for the ridiculous characters that they create, so cool. Like, and the amount, because of like the characters like Littleface and Shoulders, who all die in the first 3 minutes of the movie.
The brow.
They have to, I feel like, because they're like, there's no way we can we can do this makeup work for them for so many more scenes.
Right. I agree. Warren Beatty has done a bunch of great movies over his career. So there's just a handful of them.
Yeah. And for all you fans that are Hook fans, the kid in this movie, whose name is the kid, is also in Hook. So there you go.
I will say, TJ, it did not make the list. And I will say I am not a real huge fan of the movie. I think the movie has a lot of flaws, and not that some of these other ones don't. For me, it's not as good as it could have been. So I'm sorry, TJ. I owe you one. Instead, I will say the last film we're going to mention is my personal favorite on the list tonight. And I told you guys all to watch it last time I was on. I said, go watch this movie. I guarantee you we're going to talk about it. And here it is. I adore this movie. I think American Splendor is it may be my favorite comic book movie, period. Like I might put it above the MCU and the DCEU and just everything. I think this movie is phenomenal because I can list so many different ways. How about the originality in the form? This is a documentary, an animated film, and a fiction film all in one. They mix all of these genres together. Second, I think it's an amazing movie about life, just about cynicism versus optimism, about wealth and income inequality. Like the elements of like having money are brought up here beautifully. I think this movie is just amazing and a wonderful look at the life of independent comic creators, especially long ago, like not like 2 years ago or 10 years ago. This movie is phenomenal. And then Paul Giamatti, all day. There's a scene in this when they're interviewing the real Harvey P. Carr, and behind him is Paul Giamatti at the craft services table. And the moment is amazing because you can see him as an actor thinking like, nobody would believe this performance I'm giving unless they saw the real guy. And seeing the real guy makes it all work. He is so hilarious. He's like laughing. He's trying to eat, but he's also like trying to remember everything that the real Harvey P. Carr said. I love this movie, just flat out.
This was one where I did everything in my power to watch it because I knew John was going to make me see it, and I had never seen it yet. And I agree. I was so glad that I watched it. I mean, it's no Dick Tracy, but
could it ever be, right?
But nothing ever could. Yeah, the craziness of what I like is you see the behind the scenes of independent comic creating, like you said, and I think a lot of times when you look at these retrospectives of like artists and creators, they're a unique bunch. We were looking at Kirk Douglas and the Van Gogh movie that he did. Picard here. I like what you said, like how they integrated having getting to see the person, because I think you do kind of go like, all right, Paul's probably just like stepping it up and just kind of being over the top because that's what Giamatti can do. And the first scene where you see him doing an interview, you're like, oh, this guy he's a little off his rocker.
You hear that voice, Paul Giamatti in the doctor's office. I can't talk in my voice. And then all of a sudden you hear the real guy going through his voice issues, whether they're psychosomatic or what. Like it's hilariously portrayed, and the truth and the fiction are they're intertwined. There's no separation. Whereas Roscoe, you should definitely check it out. As far as I know,
streaming, right?
I want to say HBO owns this movie, so it's pretty much always on HBO. So if you have HBO Max, I believe that's where I've always found
I think that's where I watched it. I know it's
I want to say HBO paid to make the movie, so they own it like flat out. And you should absolutely check it out.
But
I love Ghost World, Sleepy Reader. Not so much bearded, but this movie, which has similar themes and similar style, is superior on every possible level. So definitely a better movie. Oh, Robert Galvin with the $5 super chat. Big nerds like the rest of us. Such good memories. Thank you for that. Hey, brother, thank you, Robert. And those that don't know, Robert has a show coming up here in just a few minutes, I'm sure, maybe the next hour. So you better subscribe to the Robert Galvin channel and check it out because he is always doing late night fun for everybody. You laughing at people with voice issues, John? No, I'm laughing at how ridiculous it seems. And then you see it in reality and you're like, wow, the relationship, amazing.
And you know, how his comic was created of taking stories of the people around him. And like, that's what I think was so cool too, is like, you get to see the characters in his life and his relationships, and then how they were portrayed in the comics. And it works really well. Old Wolf's here. He's going to say hi to everybody, so we can ignore the chat for about 5 minutes while he says hi to every single person in the chat.
Good to see you, Old Wolf. Thanks for coming, man.
Shoot, Jennifer's back on. I thought she would find out that she wouldn't find out that I did not love Ghost World as I watched it, and it did not make the top 10, but sorry. She's used to it by now as I rip every comic she loves on our Friday night show that I don't love.
I was going to say, she's got to be used to that.
She's used to it now.
Now, I have gone and found collected volumes of this American Splendor on, you can find them online. You can find them in libraries. And it's amazing how obviously closely tied this is with its source material. And they clearly used a ton from Our Cancer Year, which was one of the graphic novels that they wrote, because his experiences dealing with cancer are a huge part of this. And the way they deal with cancer and parenthood and money challenges and the medical health world and relationships, so many amazing layers going on in this movie.
Yeah, it just is so the relationship with his wife and when they bring her into it as well.
Yeah, Hope Davis is very good in this.
And Judah Freelander is fantastic in this movie. And I think I texted you halfway through the movie like, holy cow, Frank from 30 Rock is in this movie, because you don't at least I did not recognize him for the first half of the movie.
Right.
And
they do reference the David Letterman experiences. Absolutely.
And that was such a unique part of the movie too, that you see those references and how he kind of was like, I'm doing this just to do it, even though it's not like benefiting me at all. But then when it became like, you're making a joke out of me, like it works really well. And I like it. Yes. Steve Buscemi is the best part of Ghost World for me.
He is. And I think I will say, I think I understand if you want to discuss Ghost World for a second, we mentioned live. I think the problem that I have in a small way, I think you had in a bigger way, which is that those two girls are so unlikable. It's really hard to appreciate and enjoy their experiences when they're sometimes just downright mean girls, like just downright nasty, mean girls. And it's hard to care about those characters because they can be so insensitive.
And we were talking beforehand, I think like with their dynamic in Ghost World, they're not a likable character in my mind because they're just aggressively mean, in my opinion, where American Splendor, Paul Giamatti's character is not really likable, but it's almost out of his ignorance of knowing social skills outside of that. So it works differently from that aspect for me.
Where
the main characters in Ghost World know what they're doing. And
Harvey is not trying to hurt people.
Right.
Where those girls are definitely trying to play mean games on people. They're definitely trying to cause chaos for people. He is genuinely just trying to survive. He's trying to make it through his life the only way he knows how. And and as a result, he's a bit of a bull in the china shop, you know? Are you good?
I'm good. This is great. If you haven't seen American Splendor, check it out.
Honestly, it was the movie that I recommended last time as far as like, you just got to watch it. It's a guaranteed banger. All right. We got 2 left that are our bonus picks, our personal picks.
And I don't know your pick, and I'm excited to hear, because I don't
know.
You
want me to go first? Or you want me to go first or last? What do you want?
Well, I don't. Maybe you should go last, because I know everyone knows that my pick, I'm going to disappoint everyone.
You're gonna set some fires with this one, because I would not have let you put this in the top 10.
No, which is why we have our honorable mention picks. But because there definitely are ones where people people mention Spawn. That's not making, unless for some reason you've had to change your heart on Spawn or Crow. But I'm talking about my boy Billy Zane, who slams evil.
I thought it was so hilarious how much you love this movie.
Again, nostalgia. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Good golly, I played that stinking VHS, that purple VHS, to death at my house. And rewatched this last week. And so here's what I've understood a lot, especially with like the 90s comic book movies, as I've been rewatching a lot. You can look past a lot of things if, like, when I watched it as a child and I adored it. Like, this was, I get it. Yeah, it's right up there with Dick Tracy for people. Dick Tracy is a lot better, though, like, than Phantom 10 times. But it's a fun movie. It's this idea of, I can look past the bad CGI because I know I have what this movie invokes emotionally for me as just a kid, like where it takes me back to. But if you didn't grow up watching The Shadow and you went back, like, I kind of watched The Shadow a little bit, but the CGI is pretty bad in that as well. You go to watch at, I did have The Ring. Are you kidding me? Of course. You have stuff like, Spawn, the CGI. If you're not a fan of the movie or you didn't grow up watching it or have those memories, it's harder to separate the bad CGI, the bad, ring battle at the end here with the stones.
Yeah, there's a lot of green screen because this was pre-digital effects, a lot of that stuff, So it was a lot of green screen effects.
But Billy Zane, Catherine Zeta-Jones,
Pop loves this character, loves the strip.
Yeah,
obviously.
A lot of people did. I mean, he was great in, what was it, the Defenders of Earth cartoon show in the 80s. That was a really good series. And I know this was a box office dud. They were supposed to make a trilogy off of this, and they scrapped that really quick. And that's what they were setting up with.
I realize I'm kind of matching the poster here a little bit.
You are. It just is. Billy Zane works for me as the main character here. And I dug the costume. I thought, like, what they did with the different things, with kind of having the graphics, kind of like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but I adored it. I like this movie a lot. I still have fun with it. I wish there were cheaper Phantom action figure toys and things like that I could have owned, but they're so freaking expensive because no one bought them. And
yeah. I love Old Wolf and my dad are like kindred spirits on the other side of the.
They are, but see, I think that goes to, if I grew up reading the comic strip more, I get this. This was what, 1993,
somewhere in there. Yeah,
I mean, I'm what, 8-9-year-old kid, like, in the theater. This was what I want. Like, this is perfect. I'm the target demographic for this movie. And my parents were very stingy on what I could see. So if I could see a comic book themed movie on the big screen, it works. I thought, is it Treat Williams who's the bad guy?
Yes, it is Treat Williams. You're right.
So over the top, so bonkers in this. And like when they do the eye exam thing, and
Xander Drax.
It's fun. You get I think Billy Zane does a really good job, and it's a good movie. We could talk about this all night, but I won't, because I know you have a movie that you want to talk about. And
yeah,
I knew I was going to
chat here. I'm not as big a fan as you. I will say I love the look. I love the pistols, the holster setup. Like I do love it's like cowboy meets Batman kind of a thing. They got Indiana Jones thrown in there somewhere, blended together.
And I was going to a freaking con last March, and Billy Zane was going to be there, and Tom King, everything I wanted, and then COVID hit, and they canceled it.
The Panther was good. The Charlton comics were even better, especially those from the 70s. Lee Falks was a big influence on European artists like Mobius and Creepax. I don't know who I know that the second one. I've heard of Mobius, but not the other one. So sorry. The idea for the character is awesome. The horse is great, says my dad. There you go.
The horse is great.
So facts.
Reminds me of the horse.
So you went like, I'll say old school in the sense that it was like early comic book movie 90s kind of stuff. I'm going far more modern with my pick. I decided to go with Snowpiercer. Okay. There was a bunch of options here at the end that I couldn't really pick between. Ghost World definitely made like the final three that I was going through. But the truth is, I just love this movie. This movie has so much going on in it. Besides like powerful social commentary, it's a wonderful, almost like video game style movie where you got to beat this level and then the boss gets more complicated. You got to get to the next level. Each train car they get through is this amazing next level. The actors are just great. Tilda Swinton in this is phenomenal. Love Tilda Swinton in this. And then when you get to the end, and here we got Ed Harris coming up yet again. He was there at the beginning. He's here at the end. Ed Harris at the end of this movie is just a wonderful, awful villain. And the deeper you dive on this, those of you Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fans, the deeper you dive on this, the more wonderfully bizarre and wicked this comic show becomes. I really think there's a ton going on in here that can be enjoyed. And I love the daylights out of it. Then, of course, the action sequences, brutal and great, just too cool.
I have not gotten to see this yet. It's one that I desperately want to. It's not streaming anywhere because I know I brought it up when we were talking Charlie and the Chocolate or Willy Wonka last episodes of Family Friendly Musicals. There's some weird theory about this, and I really want to see that. And everyone said that they've enjoyed the show, that has watched it, so I want to get into it. I haven't found the time. Story of my life, right? And this wasn't streaming. Otherwise, I definitely would have watched it this week.
So, yeah, I mean, I will also say, without ruining it, there are several great twists that I didn't see coming. I think the movie does play with twists really, really well. Mm-hmm. I've not seen the TV series, but the movie just does a great job of slowly revealing truths. And yeah, just powerful, just awesome, powerful stuff. And top to bottom, a lot of fun. Good stuff all around.
I'm just really mad that I put a lot of effort into my shelf right here of my comic book themed movies, and I can't see it. People can't appreciate what's there. You've got Dick Tracy.
Let's do a little walk around, yeah.
Dick Tracy. We've got Men in Black.
He's wearing purple. Men in purple.
Right. We've got the Mask action.
Oh, wow. That's hilarious.
My Sin City sign. I was trying to throw people off that they wouldn't know what we got. I got the first American appearance of Judge Dredd.
Whoa, don't fall.
I've got the Shadow.
Wow. I got my Flaming Carrot on card.
Yeah. I've got my Flaming Carrot. First appearance of the Mystery Men.
I even see some TMNT back there.
I did throw in some TMNT, which I am blown away that people did not say anything about that. And I have my Bond number 1 back there. So
there it is, Daymares.
Yep.
Yeah, we did not bring up TMNT, and I will say I rewatched the first movie with my girls last year, and that was one of the few times I've watched a movie like that with the girls, and they all were the girls were like, "This movie's horrible." My girls legit hated the first TMNT, and they don't ever want to see it again. I will say it did not hold up as well as I thought.
The first TMNT, it definitely is one though that mirrors that first issue from what is it, Mirage? It's a dark TMNT is a dark movie, and it's on Netflix. Dang it! Snowpiercer's on Netflix. This is why I hate Apple TV. I search Apple TV, and the only one that they won't pull the data from is Netflix because of their competing. So I always forget to check Netflix. And so I'm excited because I'm gonna watch it now.
It is right there. TJ's facts.
But I just didn't realize it. I always forget to check Netflix because of that stupid. I'll do the search feature on my Apple TV, and they won't. But yeah, I mean the TMNT comic is dark, the first one, and that movie rewatching it, I can imagine with your girls, it's dark. It's a dark movie.
They thought it was too cheesy, and I thought it was really cheap looking when I rewatched it. I was like, this is kind of cheap looking. It didn't have the same intensity to me.
Yeah, I definitely, and I love everything about Turtles, and it was one of those. I think I talk about Turtles so much that I forgot, and I was okay leaving it off my list here just because it gave us opportunity to talk about other movies that people don't get to talk about more.
That's fair. That is fair because obviously not many YouTube channels are going to be talking about Dick Tracy, Phantom, and American Splendor.
No, I don't think any YouTube channel is going to ever talk.
Where are you going to find that right now? But right here, this show.
This is what we do.
And you can expect more. So our comic book movie discussions. This was us in February, but we're bleeding into March. And here's what we got in store for you all. First up, March. What did we just say? March
6th.
6th. We are going to be discussing DC movies outside of the Snyderverse. All those great DC movies that are not from Man of Steel onward. And we're going to spend time breaking them down, discussing them. We're going to get through a bunch. We'll spend a little time on Nolan world, a little time on Christopher Reeve Superman world, Batman. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about a ton of
I know on your list, Shaquille O'Neal is high up there.
Right. Definitely going to come up. Absolutely. Swamp Thing with Heather Locklear. Definitely going to come up. Yeah, DC movies that are actually good, PJ. That is my point. Absolutely. You can expect more of that. Did I freeze up here? What's going on? Or did you freeze up?
Did I? I'm here. I hear you. I see you.
Okay, good. That's going to be the first part of March. The second part of March, we are going to do Snyderverse. We're going to do all the Snyder films, all the films produced and running concurrently with his films, and we're going to finish it off with a full spoiler review of the Snyder Cut.
Yup, because so March 6th, DC, then March 20th, so it'll be 2 days after Snyder Cut has released. So all y'all watch it with us and watch it so you can come hang out in the chat as we talk about DCEU stuff, but also then we're going to focus in a little bit of the Snyder Cut because it's a 4-hour movie and we're going to see what this is and if it's a train wreck, if it's not, if it's who knows. I have zero expectations going into this.
I have expectations and they're not good, but that's mostly because of the track record of Snyder has set the bar really low for me.
See, I know you have a more disdain for the DC movies in the DCEU than I do, so I'm okay. So that's why I'm like, yeah, we'll see what happens.
So yeah, so you can expect on the 6th, we're gonna run through some of those. Obviously, I'm gonna talk Christopher Reeve a ton. We're gonna run through those films, and we might have to limit it. We might not be able to get to everything because there is just an absolute ton of movies.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think it was Daymare's mentioned Watchmen and V for Vendetta technically fit into that category. And then on the 20th, we will do the full Snyderverse DCEU. We'll get into Aquaman and Shazam and all that stuff. I believe if we bring it up, I'm sure the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern falls into the first batch.
It would fall into the first batch. I'm not going to bring it up, so
it probably won't come up, but it would be fitting into that section. Keep dissing Snyder. I'm going to flip this table.
TJ, I'm not. It's
You're a Snyder fan, TJ? I am shocked. Shocked, I say, to find that there's gambling going on in this establishment. So that's what you can expect in March. DC Comic Book Chat. We're going to try to schedule it to so that those of you who are watching the Snyder Cut or want to just know if the Snyder Cut's any good, we can break that down for you the day it premieres, right? Isn't it the 20th?
I think it premieres 2 days before. So I think you're going to have some time. I think it said it premieres on a Thursday, which is weird. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
Mr. Explained is here. What is up?
But you should be at least, if you're going to watch it either the one day or the next day, like you're going to watch it. It should be out by the time we do this show. So watch along with us.
So that is what we're doing for the rest of basically the month of March.
Yep.
Hope to see some of you here enjoying it and hanging with us. Remember, the Bearded Comic Bros channel is linked down below. So if you are unfamiliar with Greg, if this is the first time you've heard him talking, you should definitely subscribe to his channel. They were cooking again this last week. Gotta believe it. And he had his name that character on Friday, which Charlie and I are going to watch and comment on tomorrow because we're a little off our schedule this week. But what else do you got coming up next week?
Yeah, like you said, we dropped a lot of Mrs. Bearded content right there. We dropped the cooking show. We dropped the name that character. Last Monday, I dropped an interview with Dr. Drea Letamendi, which was a really fun interview. She is basically she's a psychologist who loves comic books and has a podcast where they break down every single episode of Batman the Animated Series, and she looks at the psychological aspects of the characters in each episode, and so like why the villains do this, what the relationship is with Batman, and things like that. Gail Simone wrote her in the Batgirl series as Batgirl's actual psychiatrist, so her name's like in the comic. She was in the Forever or Unnecessary Evil documentary that's on HBO right now. So with Jim Lee and all of those guys, she's there talking, and that kind of is what spawned the podcast because all her references when she was talking about the villains were coming from Batman the Animated Series. So that was a really fun interview. I've got interview Monday dropping with David Hazen, who is the writer of the new series Nottingham that's coming out from Mad Cave here in March. Really cool comic. A lot of interviews coming up, dropping every Monday. Content with the missus. I'm 5 away from getting to 500 on YouTube. Ooh. And eventually, once probably about 5:15, we'll drop the actual giveaway for the 500 subscriber.
Yeah,
which is
you get what John. What happens to me is I do that, and then I drop 3 subscribers, and it's like, okay, now I got to wait and start over again.
Right. Well, that's why I'm like, I'll wait till 5:15 to let the box kind of drop, and then we'll go to 500. But I'm giving away a box of #1 issues or a trade.
Ooh.
It's all creators that I've interviewed on my channel. So there's Mark Russell books, there's Chris Condon, Texas Blood, there's Jason Starr, just tons of
5
stuff.
subscribers away. So if you haven't subscribed to Greg, 5 subscribers away. You can go and click the link in our little description under this video right below us here.
Find the 500 giveaway video. See how all you have to do is comment. Just comment.
Do it.
And get in the giveaway.
I wanted to highlight Gore Vidal talking about his feelings about Marvel and DC, and I think I can understand kind of what you're saying for sure. I get that. I can feel that. TJ, I think you're absolutely crazy. I think there's no logic to what you're saying. For shame. Honestly, I can't handle those Snyder films. I really just can't. I'm not willing to buy any of them. I'll watch them for free. That's about all you're going to get out of me. And even then, I rewatched some. I'm already rewatching for March, and I'm already going, God, these movies are bad. And I'm watching it with my daughters, and I'm not saying anything just to hear their thoughts. And Kate's turning to me going like, why did Jonathan Kent have to die in this movie? Why can't Superman save his? This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. Why can't he have a heart attack like he's supposed to? This is stupid. I loved it. I was like, Kate, you are so right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting though, because I'll watch all these movies. This is a little preview that what you'll get when we talk about the DCU. I watch all these movies with my wife now, like, because that's kind of when this era that they come out. She doesn't have like a deep knowledge of comic books. If you know anything from our Name That Character show, you would know that. But like, I know people crapped on Birds of Prey, but my wife walked out and was like, that was fun. Like, that was like, she was like, that was like an act. Like, she was like, that was BA. And the fact that to say what you will, I don't care what you think about that movie, but the fact that my wife can walk out of that movie going, that was a lot of fun. Like, I'm like, hey, she enjoyed a comic book movie. I'm in.
Let her have it. Let her have it for sure. Versus my wife watching The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen saying that's the worst movie I've seen in my life. And she still to this day has that as the low bar in movie watching is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
It was, and then what was it? Michael and I bringing it up like we loved it on Sean Connery's like last movie.
Yeah, it's a train wreck. It's a train wreck.
What do you got?
So you got Daymares to sub you. You're one closer.
I am, yeah.
Boom. Thanks, Daymares. Appreciate the subscription.
I do.
Do
you got anything on your channel going on?
No, you know me, I don't do a whole lot, but I am on a bunch of other people's channels. So I'm on White Whale Comics tomorrow for Game of Thrones, Dungeons and Dragons. Tuesday, I'm on No Good Comics for Omnibus chatting of X-Men. Wednesday, I'm on Alex's show again for Book Club, and I'm on Comic Core. Thursday, I'm finally back on my channel for the first time, and I'll be dropping my video for my pull list. And I think I might have something on Thursday. Yes, on Thursday, I'm also on Jimmy the Geek Aficionado's show to talk about what am I hunting. So I'm finally joining his What Do You Hunt show. And then I think that's it for the next week, basically.
You said you're doing the X-Men stuff just on No Good's channel?
Just it's every other week. He does the odd issues and I do the even. So we just did a 115, I believe, on my channel. So now we're doing 116.
Gotcha.
Maybe it was 113 and 114. I can't remember.
Yeah, I guess I forgot. All my live stuff. Tuesday, I'm on Just a Rican's doing Lamer Frame.
Yeah.
With Old Wolf and all those gang. A lot of fun. We're doing drawing Super Mario Brother characters this time, so that'll be nice. Fun. And then you can find me every Friday night on Hero and the Kids channel, talking comic books with Fire Guy Ryan. Comics Will Break Your Heart. And I'm blanking on the other person. I'm bad at this. Oh, Sammy from Fandomverse.
Yeah, she was. This is the first time I'd seen her. Was this last week?
Yeah, she was a guest, and everyone loved her so much that we asked if she wanted to be on, and she was a guest like a month ago, and she's been a part of our regular crew ever since.
Yeah, I subscribed to her when I saw her on the show. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yep, so.
Yes, I am part of Tag Team Thursday with Old Wolf and Just a Rican and No Good Comics. So yeah, that's a big part of Thursday. Jumping from channel to channel, checking out all the stuff on Thursday for sure. Thank you, Roscoe. I appreciate that, sir. And I do agree TJ should be on Jimmy's show. But we're going to get out of here because we're almost at the hour-and-a-half mark. We're staying on time until we got here to the end, and we're talking just a little bit freeform.
Yeah, but this still is the first time we've actually hit like an hour and a half, I think. We found that sweet spot with the 10 and the 2. Yeah.
So expect us to be back on the 6th of March talking about pre-Snyderverse DC movies, and I hope you all join us for it. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.